Suzzane Capper. Suzzane Capper was a 16-year-old girl from Greater Manchester, England, who was kidnapped, tortured, and murdered in December 1992 by a group of people. The perpetrators, including Capper's former friend and a couple she had met at a party, subjected her to horrific abuse over a period of several days, pouring boiling water on her, setting her on fire, and forcing her to drink urine. Capper was eventually set alight with petrol and left to die, her body found in a street in Greater Manchester. The case caused widespread shock and horror in the UK, and the perpetrators were subsequently convicted and sentenced to life in prison. Story of Suzzane Capper. Suzzane Capper had been lured to a house by a former friend, Bernadette McNeely, who had been jealous of Suzanne's popularity. McNeely and her boyfriend, Jean Powell, were joined by several others, including Anne-Marie Daly, who had previously worked with Suzanne at a local chip shop. The group subjected Suzanne to horrific abuse over a period of several days, pouring boiling water on her, setting her on fire, and forcing her to drink urine. They also inflicted cigarette burns and beatings on her, all the while keeping her tied up and confined to a chair. The group demanded money from Suzanne's family, but they were unable to raise the funds. On December 14, the group poured petrol over Suzanne and set her alight before dumping her in a street in Greater Manchester. She was discovered by a passerby, who alerted the authorities. Suzanne was taken to the hospital but died from her injuries a few days later. The case caused widespread shock and horror in the UK, with many people unable to comprehend how a group of young people could carry out such a brutal and sadistic attack on someone. The perpetrators were subsequently arrested, and after a lengthy trial, all were found guilty of murder and sentenced to life in prison. Bernadette McNeely was sentenced to a minimum of 25 years, while the others were given minimum sentences of between 20 and 22 years. Suzanne's death had a profound impact on her family and friends, who were left devastated by the senseless and brutal nature of her killing. Her story has since become a cautionary tale about the dangers of peer pressure and the devastating consequences that can result from it. Cause of Suzzane Capper's death? Suzzane Capper suffered severe burns to over 80% of her body, and despite receiving medical treatment at a hospital, she sadly passed away a few days later on December 18, 1992. The official cause of death was given as shock, due to the extensive burns and injuries she had suffered. Suzzane Capper's murders. Suzzane Capper's murderers were a group of 5 people, including her former friend Bernadette McNeely, McNeely's boyfriend, Jean Powell, Anne-Marie Daly, and 2 other men, Joseph Tresider and Ian Newton.